But you, the WBC, think that you better than everybody, don't you? So since you, the WBC, and you got the green belt, which don't mean it, and real belt is the ring belt, which is free, motherfucker. What are you talking about?
Can you talk about the difficulty of this decision?
Yes, it's very sad. It is very complicated to have to vacate a title, to withdraw recognition of a champion hurts very deeply.
And this is what TKO is saying. Why do you have to pay them? Don't pay them. Don't adhere to their crazy rules.
Terence Crawford is calling on fighters and fans to push back against the WBC after the organization stripped Shakur Stevenson of his title. Crawford openly criticizes the WBC, accusing them of operating with arrogance, enforcing overly strict rules, and charging fighters extremely high fees. He believes the organization has gone too far and says their actions are unfair to the athletes who put their bodies on the line.
$1,000. What makes you so motherfucking better than any of the other sanctioned bodies? Huh? To that question. What makes you better than the WBO, the IBF, or the WBA?
Terence Crawford also finds himself in direct conflict with WBC President Mauricio Sulaiman. Crawford makes it clear that the belt is not something Sulaiman controls at will, stating that if he truly wanted the title, he could take it. His comments reflect growing frustration with how the organization treats fighters and how much power it believes it holds over champions.
Can take the fucking belt. It's a trophy.
Mauricio Sulaiman previously stripped Terence Crawford of his title as well, using similar reasoning to justify taking Shakur Stevenson's belt. The WBC claimed Crawford violated their rules, failed to meet certain payment requirements, and as a result, no longer met their standards to hold the WBC title. These repeated actions have raised serious questions about consistency and fairness within the organization.
The WBC super lightweight, then he unified and became undisputed in welterweight against WBC champion, who was Spence, in a great fight. He petitioned to fight a final elimination bout in super welterweight against Madrimov and remain champion in welter. The WBC supported him. He did not comply with the rules. Then he moves up to super middle and makes the fight of the century, beats Canelo, makes $50 million or around that. The WBC absolutely is not going to charge 3% of such an amount. We made a very clear 0.6%.
Shakur Stevenson addressed the situation publicly on X, saying, "I just paid these dudes after my last fight. What the hell I'm giving y'all $100K right now for?" He suggested that the WBC's actions toward him were connected to their issues with Terence "Bud" Crawford, implying that he was being targeted because of that tension. Stevenson expressed anger over the constant financial demands. Terence Crawford added that boxing officials live comfortably off fighters' hard work, while the athletes themselves absorb the physical punishment and still have to pay unnecessary WBC sanctioning fees.
That, and guess who gotta pay for it? Us fighters. We paying for y'all to come out here, have the time of y'all life, stay in the best hotels of y'all life, and it's all done on our dime. It's done on our dime. Do that sound right to y'all? It's crazy, ain't it? We the one out there getting battered, knocked upside our head, and every time we step foot in the ring, we gotta pay them a sanction fee like they the government. We getting taxed.
Shakur Stevenson continued his criticism by saying, $100K to some crooks who don't deserve it. Nah, Leilani, I'd rather give it to you, baby girl. He made it clear that the WBC had nothing to do with his fight, yet still demanded payment, which he believes bothered them deeply. Stevenson told the organization to take the belt, saying it doesn't define him as a fighter. Roy Jones Jr. backed this viewpoint, stating that regardless of disagreements, stripping a champion of their belt is unfair, disrespectful, and ultimately makes the organization look bad.
A lot of people were really upset about. And
I don't really want to get too deep into that. All I'm gonna say is it's wrong for him to be stripped if he didn't even defend the title.
Yeah.
Chris Mannix strongly condemned the WBC for demanding what he described as excessive and unjust fees from Shakur Stevenson. He called the situation disgusting and emphasized that no matter how much money Shakur earns, it belongs to him alone. Mannix argued that the organization has no moral right to claim a portion of a fighter's income. He went further by criticizing the entire sanctioning system, saying it is deeply flawed and should not exist in its current form. According to Mannix, fighters already endure extreme physical punishment, mental pressure, and lifelong risks, yet governing bodies like the WBC continue to place unnecessary financial burdens on them.
Crooked and shady as you can possibly get. And for the WBC to do this now, when sanctioning bodies are under attack, when the sanctioning system is under attack, this is a glaring example about why maybe they shouldn't exist. Maybe they shouldn't be in boxing if you are going to reach into the pocket of a fighter like Shakur Stevenson, ask for $100,000. According to Shakur, there's been no comment on this from the WBC. I asked for one. I talked to a member of their staff and said, tell me what's going on here. And all I've seen is the Instagram post from the WBC saying they were stripping him. To reach into the pocket of a fighter for a fight that you have nothing to do with and asking for $100,000. I don't care how much money Shakur Stevenson made that night. That's his money. That belongs in his pocket. The WBC had nothing to do with it. It is disgusting. Disgusting that they stripped Shakur Stevenson of that belt. And Shakur would be right to never fight for a WBC.
The WBC's controversial relationship with Terence Crawford began when he refused to pay a $300,000 fee following his fight with Canelo Alvarez. Many supporters felt Crawford was completely justified in saying no. He questioned why he should be expected to hand over such a massive amount, especially when other sanctioning bodies like the IBF, WBA, and WBO never raised any issues with the fees he paid them. Those organizations accepted their share without conflict. Crawford argued that his fight earnings were his personal business and that Mauricio Suleiman, the WBC president, had no valid reason to demand extra money. Even when Crawford offered the WBC the standard 3% cut, the organization rejected it and instead demanded 6%, far higher than what others required. Analysts pointed out that aside from awarding a belt, sanctioning bodies often contribute very little to the actual event, making such high fees difficult to justify.
It's well within his rights to say that I ain't giving you $300,000. Why? Like, why am I giving you $300,000? What for? And don't talk about my past. Like Mauricio Suleiman saying Terence Crawford made 50 million. What's that got to do with you? No. And what I like as well about Terence, he said, look, I gave the IBF money, I gave the WBA money, I gave the WBO money. We haven't heard any of those organizations moan about the amount Terence Crawford gave to them. They're like, oh, we'll take it. Because ultimately, what are they doing? Apart from strapping a belt around your waist, what are they doing? And we'll get to that as well. So he then tried to give the WBC that amount of money as well. They clearly said, no, we're not taking that. We want a bit more. And then they're like, okay, normally we take 3%, but 3% of 50 million would have been too much. So you know what? We'll give you...
Shakur Stevenson remains undefeated, and no opponent has ever taken his belt inside the ring. Despite this, the WBC declared his title vacant after he moved up in weight, arguing that his absence created a gap in the division. This decision allowed other fighters to compete for the title, even though Stevenson never lost it. This distinction matters. The belt was removed through an administrative decision, not because of a loss. Stevenson's record and accomplishments remain untouched, and his undefeated status continues to establish him as one of the top fighters in boxing today.
Active at that weight class. So, despite nobody beating Shakur Stevenson, he is an undefeated fighter. Nobody took his belt. But for whatever reason, the WBC has decided him moving up has created some type of void and have now made and declared his title vacant, allowing the division to successfully move forward with new contenders. So in this case, Stevenson, he didn't lose his belt in the ring. Nobody beat him. He's still undefeated. The title was vacated administratively, which is a difference. And we need to establish the facts from the fiction. So nobody beat Stevenson. It doesn't really hurt his career, his official box rec, and it says he's suspended by the commission indefinitely. So I'm not sure if he has some type of injury, but usually when it says indefinitely, they got to get clearance from a doctor to come back. And again, this could be possibly from his fight with Shakur Stevenson. So this is a developing story, and we'll see ultimately how it plays out, what the WBC officially decides to do in terms of who's next and what's next. So what are the facts? What does this mean? Shakur Stevenson was not stripped for any type of misconduct. Shakur was not penalized per se, and Shakur Stevenson is not suspended. So it simply reflects the WBC has considered him no longer active at lightweight at this time. A bit political.
Analyst Aid Oladipo described the WBC's choice to strip Shakur Stevenson of his 135 pounds title as strange and highly controversial. Stevenson had been clear about his plans, explaining that his move up in weight was temporary and that he intended to return to the 135 pounds division. Even so, the WBC declared the title vacant, claiming his inactivity created an opening for new challengers. Oladipo noted that this situation reflects the organization's rigid and overly bureaucratic mindset. He also pointed out that even though Stevenson's most recent fight was not a WBC title bout, their rules still required him to pay 50% of the sanctioning fee as if it were an official title defense. That brings us to the end of today's video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and until next time.